have you now.
They want to mess with my droid. They're going to pay for it.
This is the way.
You may fire when ready.
Blow that piece of junk out of the sky!
The way you're fighting, you wouldn't have lasted long.
Hello there.
Kenobi!
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent.
Greedo the ladies' man, 3PO the scoundrel, and Admiral Akbar the clone. These are just a few of the crazy and hilarious ideas that made it into Rebuild the Galaxy. If you're unfamiliar, this week there's a new limited Star Wars series dropping called Rebuild the Galaxy. It is set in the Lego Star Wars universe, and it serves as sort of an alternate timeline where all kinds of wacky things can get switched around and turned around. There are 4 episodes, and we took the time to watch all of them so we could sit here and share with you what we thought about them. If you're new to the program, my name is Carter, and this is the Star Wars Station. We're a podcast that covers all things Star Wars, including the latest lighthearted, family-friendly piece of the galaxy far, far away. I already know this is going to be a super fun review, a super fun episode because of the great time I had watching the show. It's just really like an hour and a half of laughs. And so I'm not the only one here to talk about it. Joining me is my longtime co-host, the building Bardoden himself, Colin Archer.
Man, I really had fun with this one. It was so many little jokes, and if there's any downside at all, you got to watch this multiple times to get everything.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely true. It was funny the whole time. Like it builds up a little bit through the first episode, and after that it hits a stride where it's just making jokes the whole time. And the last 2 episodes are really, really good. I mean, I was pretty impressed with this show as a whole.
Yeah, and you can definitely tell they had some extra creative license here. Like there's no restraints on the people who made this at all, it feels like.
Yeah, no, they just got to do whatever they want.
They make fun of themselves.
Some
other decisions in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, they get to poke fun at themselves. They have a really good time. It was fun. You could tell that the people who made it were having fun with it. And I think it's been successful just from what I've heard. I've seen a lot of people online talking about it and enjoying it. And it was really cool. The very first thing that you see, like all the Disney Plus shows, is the helmet intro, but this time it's Lego, and it's all different minifig heads, and that was super cool. I mean, that was already a super fun idea. Yeah. The series itself kind of opens up with a very brief retelling of the Skywalker saga, and like super brief, like it's very punctuated. And the very first thing that I thought when I was watching this was, I cannot believe they got Mark Hamill to come back to voice Luke Skywalker for this Lego show.
Yeah. Well, was Sam Witwer in this? I didn't see all the credits.
I don't know if Sam was in here or not. I know Anthony Daniels reprised his role as C-3PO. I think that is Sam Witwer as Maul, though.
It sounded like him for sure.
But it's not. Sam wasn't Palpatine, and they ask him to do Palpatine a lot. So I don't know if that was him, because why wouldn't he have just also done Palpatine? But like Ahmed Best came back. Billy D. Williams at the very end comes back.
Yeah.
It is Sam Witwer. So Sam Witwer voicing Darth Maul as well. Kelly Marie Tran came back as Rose Tico. There's just a lot of people that returned. And you get a lot of the Clone Wars voices. Like General Grievous was voiced by Matthew Wood.
Yeah. I love projects like this where all these old favorites can come back and reunite, even if it is for a Lego thing.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's. I'm very happy about it. It was a lot of fun. It was just like we're going to be saying this entire podcast. It's just it's definitely worth an hour and a half of your time, because it's just fun. You're just going to have a good time. And it's just like super family friendly humor the whole time, but it makes you smile and laugh. They open it up basically with a joke in itself, because the main character is a nerf herder, and that was super funny. Yeah. That was just
a scruffy
hilarious
looking nerf herder at that.
Yes.
We're all scruffy looking.
Yep. It's this kid who really likes, his name is Sig. He really likes telling stories. He likes history.
He spends too much time on the HoloNet.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a news junkie.
Yeah, exactly. But he himself he wants to be pretty insignificant, stay off the radar. And so it's a really simple, reluctant hero story.
Yeah, and that's a respectable point of view in that Star Wars universe, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's pretty perilous to go out there and adventure around. So this kid is telling the story of the Skywalker saga, and this is Fun fact, the furthest down the timeline we've ever seen, technically, in Star Wars.
Yeah.
This is
It happens
after
the sequels.
everything. Yeah. And so he's sitting there telling those stories, like, not like they're ancient history, but like they're firmly in the past. And so it's pretty good at the very beginning. But you get this really easy to follow reluctant hero story because it's not really about the story.
And to be clear, this is like a tangent timeline. It's its own little universe.
Oh, yeah.
Influenced by
no
the
canon
real,
influence
yeah,
here
no canon.
whatsoever.
Yeah, it starts off with like that retelling of the Skywalker saga and all that, and has a lot of the characters, but it goes off on a tangent really fast.
Yeah, almost immediately. But the kid's outshined by his cooler older brother, and so that's just kind of like, it's not, he isn't even like chagrined about this. He doesn't mind. He just acknowges that his older brother is much more
got
successful
way more charisma,
and cool
or
than him.
Riz, as the young ones would say today.
Exactly. And this is the reason it's such an easy to follow story is because this thing happens at a breakneck pace. I mean, it is seriously like watching kids play with Legos, because that is how they handle the story, and just things happen and then they move on really quickly.
And see, I'm glad you made that point, because now that you say it, I notice it, but I did notice it in Rise of Skywalker, but that one moves so fast at the start it gives you whiplash. I didn't think this one did.
Oh, see, I didn't feel like this one gave me whiplash because I expected out of Lego stuff, but it moves ridiculously fast. I mean, they go, the part where it starts to be nonstop is when they're in the field, the lightning storm happens, and then they fall down, and there's a Jedi temple on the ground.
Yeah.
And it's like, they're not from that point on, they're never going to contact anybody that they know ever again. And we don't know that yet, but it's just, I mean, it is just set piece to set piece to set piece over and over and over as quick as possible. And so, but it has that feel of kids playing with Legos. Like, that's exactly what it feels like. And the Lego animation is super fun. So I watched this first episode with Cy, who's been on this podcast a few times. Who's in the 100th episode. He's our RPG DM. And we watched the first one together last night. And it probably, he had a really good point that because Lego is so easy to animate, that's a big reason where they probably got all the good voice actors to come back and reprise these roles. Yeah. Is they had the money and the budget to do that.
You got the people who are super passionate about it, making these things. And it's not like you're having to make strides. Outside of some things where a special event happens and you're making stuff change or whatever, you're animating Legos.
It can't be that hard. I mean, it looks really good, and like the animation flows. I like the animation style, but it can't be as hard as other animation styles. Can't be Clone Wars. It's not the same. So the guy yells at his droid. This is why when I figured out that I was really gonna like this, because this Sig character is the most relatable Star Wars character of all time, because his droid is bumping around in his room and he yells, the droid's name is Servo, and he yells, "Servo, be careful with my models." And so as 40K players, I was like, that's definitely the most relatable character I've ever seen on the screen in Star Wars. But there was a lot more meat to this story than I imagined there was going to be too. Just because it happens at a breakneck pace does not mean that there's not a story. There's actually a couple stories going along with Sig and his brother's plot line, and you have all the characters in the New Galaxy's plot line, Jedi Bob's plot line, a lot of interesting stuff going on. And so I was really surprised by that, because they take time. Most of the show is very silly, very comedic, and that's the point, and that's a good thing. But they take certain story beats and make them really serious, and take them very seriously. With, like, when Sig discovers this Jedi temple and is opening the door, the music swells just like you would expect in Rebels when Ezra is having like a big breakthrough. Like, they take it very seriously, and I thought that was pretty interesting. But it was good. It translated well for me. Yeah,
impactful to say the least. And even at the start, they're doing a masterful job at developing these characters and make you care about them.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are just nerf herders, but they have an interaction with the farmer's daughter, and it's like the typical stuff. They want more, Mm-hmm. They want to go out in the galaxy and do stuff. Right. It's really fun.
Yeah, yeah.
And real relatable to other actual Star Wars characters, not something that shoehorned in or something like that.
No, not at all. It doesn't feel shoehorned in or anything like that. It's been pretty. It was from start to finish. I was embracing these characters, and one of the really cool additions was Jedi Bob, because that guy has real world history, and I love the fan edition of that character. Do you know the history of Jedi Bob?
Don't.
So in 2002, they released a Republic LAAT gunship. It wasn't called that yet, but a Republic gunship Lego set. And it's got 2 little clone troopers, a droideka, 2 little B-2 battle droids, and this little Jedi guy who is completely unnamed, undesignated whatsoever. It just says Jedi Knight on there. And so fans started calling him Jedi Bob, and that's the same character.
That's awesome.
Yeah, oh, it's awesome. It's super cool. I loved like when he came on screen and it reveals that he's him, you clearly know it's him from the very beginning, if you know who Jedi Bob is.
22 years of waiting.
Yes, exactly. 22 years waiting. And he pops on screen, and I looked at my wife, and I was like, that's Jedi Bob. So I watched it with Cy, and I watched it with my wife, and both times I was like, that's Jedi Bob, and neither of them knew what I was talking about.
Yeah, that's sad. Oh, you would have got me too.
Yeah. So it was cool. I was happy about it. So at the very end of the first episode, we get this like cool rearranging montage. I guess not the very end, very near the end of the first episode, we get this cool rearranging montage of just like demonstrating to us, the viewer, what just happened when they took the cornerstone, which is the big MacGuffin of this, and that all these different timelines and planets changed. But one of my favorite jokes in the whole show happens in this, and it's the resistance on Crate when the guy licks the ground and says salt. And then it changes, and he goes, pepper, and then sneezes. I laughed so hard at that the first time. Then when I was watching it with Cassidy, I was like, you have to pay attention right here. I was like, this is one of the best jokes in this show. I thought it was great. Great.
And the change was hilarious. The whole premise from start to finish is really good. And we're going to talk all about all these different characters, I'm sure, how they changed.
Yeah.
And the impact on the story. But it was so fun. It wasn't just like, oh, yeah, Darth Jar Jar, we've been waiting for this. There's a lot of other changes that we're about to talk about that were hilarious.
Oh, yeah, there's some great
serious
ones. They didn't give away a whole lot of the changes in the build-up to this.
No,
they saved a lot, and I was happy about that.
They kept a lot in their pocket on this one, and it paid off big time.
Yeah, it did. It really did. So we're kind of to that point because now the galaxy's been remade, and Sig gets out of the temple, and he's first ambushed by clone troopers. Maybe one of the gags I didn't like as much, actually. I thought it got a little annoying. All the clone troopers are Admiral Akbar.
Yeah.
And it was funny, and then it was like, it's a trap is
guys,
used as a joke like 7 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he's ambushed by Admiral Akbar clones, which is just goofy. And they take him. His brother is now the Sith Lord over this galaxy.
And stand in for Kylo Ren.
Yes. Yeah.
And so since I brought that up, Jedi Bob is kind of a stand-in for Obi-Wan, I guess. Old man Obi-Wan.
Yeah. I mean, you can really see just the Star Wars, the hero's journey fingerprints all over this. And it's because there's a lot of parallels. I mean, the Mos Eisley Cantina parallels, the training aboard the ship. Everything happens at a much quicker pace, obviously, but you basically get the original trilogy in these 4 episodes for the character.
And another thing is, like, people would have might have poo-pooed it if Obi-Wan was back in some ways. So and Jedi Bob got his long awaited redemption, right?
Right.
But like Kylo Ren, maybe they couldn't get Adam Driver because of all the characters in this.
Oh, I'm certain
he was kind of Kylo Ren was kind of missing. Yeah. Well, no, he died at the end. What am I saying? There you
go. But I'm certain they couldn't get Adam Driver because they didn't get Daisy Ridley either.
Yeah,
and she's currently on the project. So she was the only one.
Yeah, she could have gone next door.
She was one of the only notable people I know that had a stand-in voice actor. One of the most notable Star Wars characters that had a stand-in voice actor that played a large role in this, other than like one line said. But that's the first one. Speaking of Daisy Ridley, that's like the first bent character we get to see because Darth Dev's apprentice is Darth Rey, the one we see from The Last Jedi. I mean, it is exactly the
the same. She has the nunchuck lightsaber built into the lightsaber.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was interesting to see. I know a bunch of people were probably really happy to see that. A lot of people wanted that to be how it ended up, and it was cool. It was neat. But that was one of the more serious turns that you talked about. Like that was just kind of a glimpse in a. That's more. There's this show. A lot of people have it in their heads that this show was going to be like a what if Star Wars. One, we've harped on it many times. Quit calling it that. Call it Infinities. We have many great diatribes about that. However, a Star Wars What If series, and that's not exactly what this is. I mean, this is one story trying to be really goofy. Yeah. What If series are more like one thing has changed, and it's changed the trajectory of the story in a meaningful way.
Right.
But it's still taken seriously, and this is not
This
that.
is like Infinity adjacent.
Yeah, exactly. It is an alternate timeline, but it's not like, I mean, it's just, they're really just throwing stuff at the wall for jokes, which is awesome. I mean, I loved it.
Yeah.
So we see Darth Rey, Sig, and Yessi get captured, but Jedi Bob comes to the rescue. He frees them, and then they're boarding the ship, and Bob's trying to convince Sig that there's no good left in Darth Dev. And so this is, again, just like Luke being told that by Obi-Wan when he's insistent that he can redeem his father. It's the same thing. So just the same hero's journey fingerprints are all over this.
Yeah.
So there's then a chase scene that ensues. We see that
I love
ensues.
this scene.
Yeah, it's really good. Jedi Bob can build things out of the Force, and Sig has that power also, and so that's a unique Force ability even in the Lego galaxy.
Yeah, and it's called out specifically. It's a Force builder.
Yes.
It's a very cool concept that makes being able to. I mean, because that's the fingerprints of all the Lego movies, and almost every Lego project, even in the video games, is you can use the Force or use some sort of ability to build master builder in the other movies, right?
Right.
And so I love how they explain that in this Lego universe.
Yeah, it was very good. And so Jedi Bob is flying in that. He's not the one flying. Yes, he is flying them through this chase, and Jedi Bob is just adding all kinds of adjustments and upgrades to their ship as they're flying, using the Force builder stuff. Yeah, the quad racer engines.
Yep.
Yeah, it was fun. It was really
so many
cool.
fun callbacks. It was very good.
So they're able to escape Darth Dev, and they get into space, and then Jedi Bob is giving the training montage to Sig, just like Luke wearing the visor on the Falcon. Sig is asked to train himself as a Force builder by modding his Gonk droid. And it is so funny that he mods him, and then the Gonk droid can talk.
Yeah,
and has this like real
Australian
strong Kiwi. Exactly.
Yeah, or Kiwi. That just we don't know. It's not. I know it's not British.
Yeah, no. It's a Kiwi accent, and he sounds so funny. The character is just, and he is funny. The Gonk droid is like one of the best supporting characters from this point on.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You know, all these new characters, Yessi, Sig, Dev. And they left no stone unturned when putting new characters in. Mm-hmm. And Servo's just hilarious.
Yeah,
and I'm so
good.
glad a Gonk droid gets its time on the lot.
Yeah,
because like Gonk droids are mostly background characters or otherwise comic relief, but this one finally gets a voice,
right?
And it just amps it up to 11.
He's the most pleasant character you could think of. He's so funny. He's going to remind people a lot of a character from the new adult comedy series called Smiling Friends. There's a character in that who also has a Kiwi accent and is also crazy positive all the time, and his name is Pim. And for a while, I thought they were voiced by the same person. I kind of still don't know if they are. I don't think so. I think I finally settled on the fact that they are voiced by the same person. I just looked it up. And so they're essentially the same character.
Yeah.
And so anyone who watched... No, it's not a bad thing. So anyone who watched Smiling Friends and watches this, you can tell that that's basically the same thing written in there. So that's really interesting. Yeah. I'm very surprised by that.
That makes me feel better. I watched one episode of that Smiling Friends, and I'm like, this is a young person thing. I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah, no, that character.
That might give me another watch because I really did like this Servo character.
Yeah, they're identical. That's very funny. I just looked it up, and they are the same. So we keep going. They're flying through the air, and then they're hit by bounty hunters. These bounty hunters were in the trailer, the Ewok bounty hunters in like Forest Y-Wings. It was super funny.
And the subtitles, Ewokese.
Yeah.
Obviously I knew that, and that's what they spoke. But to see it written out somehow just confirms it and makes it hilarious.
Yeah, it's funny. It's definitely funny. And then we get a gold-plated Naboo Royal Cruiser piloted by bounty hunter C-3PO. That one was really funny.
Yeah,
with the Sith. Instead of a red arm, he's got a black arm. Really funny stuff. But the heroes escape those bounty hunters. They get to Tatooine, which is a beach planet. Looks like Scarif, basically. Yeah. And they land at the Mos Eisley Marina.
Mos Eisley Marina Cantina.
Yes,
I love that.
It was so good. They land, and then they see the ocean, and they see a pod race going on. And Sig is talking about how the greatest Jedi ever in his galaxy comes from Tatooine, and they see Luke Skywalker cheating in a pod race. It's pretty cool, the whole thing. And Luke is just this beach bum, only cares about himself, only cares about credits. It was all very, very interesting.
There's a movie from the 90s called Captain Ron with, I'll look it up. I'm sorry, I forget the actor's name, but that's who this character is. It's just, doesn't care about anything for himself, and a beach bum. Mm-hmm, hilarious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was very funny. For Luke especially, just getting to see him like that was pretty cool. And he doesn't want to leave Tatooine. He's like, it's got everything I could ever want. So they head to the Mos Eisley Marina Cantina, and they're walking in to go talk to Luke about how he cheated. Yes, he's gonna get them off the planet, and Ponda Baba and Dr. Evazan walk up, and he says, he likes you. And then Six like, oh, thanks. And Dr. Evazan's, I like you too. That is just hilarious. I laughed so hard at that joke with them reversing that line for some reason. Some of those, they just did that a few times where all they did was have a character say the opposite of what they said, and it got me pretty much every time. There's one Mace Windu in the last episode. Every time it was funny. Every single time. So continuing on the breakneck pace, they leave the cantina and are immediately confronted by Darth Ray. And then, right after they catch Darth Ray, all of these Sith pile out of the Dark Falcon. And you've got all kinds of characters, but the most notable are Darth Nubs, which is so funny, and then Darth Jar Jar, who we knew was in this with a big reveal here.
Yeah, and they're in the Dark Millennium Falcon, right? At this point. And there's also Darth Rose Tico.
There is Darth Rose Tico.
Very cool addition to this that I wasn't expecting at all.
Yeah, and again, voiced by Kelly Marie Tran herself, which she came back for this role. I'm happy to see that Kelly Marie Tran came back because of how much I did not like The Last Jedi, and I disliked Rose Tico's character a lot. Nobody should have gone after Kelly Marie Tran for that. And so I'm happy that she came back to Star Wars.
Yeah. And the Darth Nubs, though, man, I was laughing at that.
Oh, yeah. Darth Nubs was so funny.
Yeah.
And I was kind of thinking, I was like, that's going to be lost on a few people, but it's not going to be lost on the kids that this is targeted to. Like, they're going to know because that's right around the right age group. They're going to be like, Darth Nubs they're going to think that's very funny, and I'm happy about that. So the Luke helps them escape. He helps them continue to hold on to the cornerstone, and the Dark Falcon is in the air chasing them with a little mini Death Star laser that chases them around. It was really funny. And then they escape. They get in a trash compactor, and they decide that they're going to leave the planet. Luke's going to join them. And that's a little bit of a wrap.
This is the last we see of Darth Jar Jar, unfortunately. He gets squashed in this scene.
Yeah, he confronts them in the trash compactor in Jedi Bob.
in the very Jar Jar way. It's hilarious.
Yeah, Bob kills him by dropping a whale bones on him. They look like whale bones. Basically, that's what it is. And then they make fun of the concept of Darth Jar Jar. And that was really good. That was really fun. So they head to go find the Jedi of this galaxy, which they never tell us what planet they're on, but their temple is a sand crawler on AT-AT legs in the middle of some desert planet.
Yeah. There's somebody going to make that Lego set.
Yeah,
as a bespoke thing.
Absolutely.
And it's going to be hilarious.
They're going to fill the inside with that Jedi Council.
Yeah.
So we get to the Jedi Council, and this is one of my favorite parts because the characters that they chose to be on the Jedi Council, like some of them are intuitive and some of them are just hilarious. So we've got Palpatine is the Grandmaster. That's fine. You immediately see Jedi Vader in his white armor, and he's still kind of beholden to Palpatine. He's like, come on. Then we see Jabba as a Jedi.
Yeah, everybody who's bad before is good now.
Right, exactly. But there's a couple characters that break that mold a little bit. We have Lando's daughter is one of them.
Well, she was a stormtrooper. Come on.
Yeah, okay. Well, then we have one that made me laugh so hard with Jedi Cad Bane. Jedi Cad Bane, he doesn't say anything, which I was disappointed about. I wanted him to say something, but he's got like the tan Jedi robe hat on.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so funny. And then Jedi Lobot.
Yeah,
that one was cool. Hilarious too.
Very cool.
The people, the characters that they chose to be on the Jedi Council were really, really funny.
Yep.
I was a big fan of the whole thing.
And they act opposite of themselves. They're all kind of weenies too.
Yes, yeah. Jabba's very like loving. He keeps giving people hugs and stuff.
Yeah. And Palpatine's, he's like, I'm not going to do anything about this. They're all just kind of relaxed, laissez-faire.
Yeah. They're just kind of lazy. Yeah.
Palpatine, you set him on a task, he's going to do it.
Right.
As long as it's his idea, I guess.
Yeah. And so they talk about in this galaxy they tried to stand up to the Sith and they lost, and so they're like, we just hang out here. So we're while Jedi Bob and Sig are talking to the Jedi, a ship lands outside. It's Kylo Ren's Epsilon shuttle, but Leia walks off of it. Maybe one of my biggest critiques of the show, and obviously they can't go back and get Carrie Fisher, but the voice actress didn't sound like Leia whatsoever. I mean,
Yeah.
it didn't sound like Leia at all to me. I don't know what like they did there, but I think Mark Thompson's Leia voice for his books is better than who they got. Sounds more like Leia than the voice actress
Yeah,
did.
that's kind of scathing.
I'm serious. I didn't think it sounded like Leia at all. I listened to it a couple times when she first got on screen, and I was like, this is wholly unconvincing. It's probably my biggest critique of the whole show is that the Leia voice actress they found, got to find a new one.
Yep. I thought the joke she was part of was funny.
Oh, the joke she's part of is hilarious. We're going to get to that one in just a second. And I think it's so clever and funny that this show can hit all the regular Star Wars beats, because in this, right after Leia shows up, Sig has this like ominous Star Wars vision of him falling to the dark side and being Darth Dev's apprentice or whatever. And it's like, this is in every Star Wars where they have the vision of something going wrong, and they just continued to make it funny, but they were able to hold on to these Star Wars story beats we're used to. And I was really surprised about that when they were making this show, they were able to maintain that.
Yeah, and really, I'd say you almost undersell it. I think the writers, showrunners, the people who had the key hands in making this, they need to be elevated somehow. Mm-hmm. And, if their talent is comedy and they can't really transition to something more dramatic or serious, and that's fine. But if it were me, considering some of the other people who had shots at making their own stuff and kind of fell flat, I would elevate these guys.
Yeah, no, they get it. They understand the hero's journey.
They bat 1,000 to me. If you ask.
They did very well. They did super well. I agree. So the joke you're talking about with Leia, this is where it happens, is we get another ship come down, the Slave One lands, and you see Han Solo walk off, and then you see Leia run, saying, "You scoundrel," going to embrace what it looks like Han Solo. And the droid, Servo, is like, "Oh, this hasn't changed." And then Leia runs past Han and embraces Greedo. And it was so funny.
And you heard the justification, right?
Yes, I did. I did. Yep.
He said, he shot his shot first.
Yes. It was really, really good. They're wearing each other's clothes. Greedo is dressed like Han, and Han is wearing Greedo's clothes. It is hilarious.
Probably one of the best jokes in the whole little series.
Yes, it is. That was one notable thing that I did notice in this scene and that I kept waiting for, never showed up. Chewbacca is not in this.
Yeah, that's weird.
That's like probably the biggest character the teaser, the very end of the show there was another notable character accepted.
Yeah, who you're like, where's this guy?
Exactly.
And other characters like Han Solo, you're sitting there waiting for them to show up, and you're like, when is this going to happen? When is this going to happen? I wonder why that is. It's strange.
It is. It's really odd. But he shows up in no capacity, and it's just like he could have been in a bunch of key spots just as another person who was there.
And they had so many other characters in the background.
Right.
Strange.
Yeah, it is strange. And they had Wookiees. They just didn't have Chewbacca himself. It was odd. But anyways, we learned that Yessi got a base destroyed. But in Sig's vision, he sees that they need to go to Dagobah. And so when they arrive to Dagobah, they learn that's where the new Jedi temple where they need to put the cornerstone is. And there's a prison there that's been set up for the rebels that were captured at that Yessi base. And we see who the characters are that have been captured. And it's Yoda, General Grievous, and Mace Windu, all working for the rebellion. We see a shot of them in the prison, and Yoda is wearing the Narkina prison clothes. And I thought it was so funny that they dripped him out. Grievous is not wearing any clothes. He's just naked.
Yeah, he's just a robot.
But Mace Windu and Yoda are specifically in the Narkina prison outfits. And I thought that was so funny.
That's hilarious.
So, the rebels are going to infiltrate this base while Sig and Jedi Bob head to the Jedi Temple. Well, Han Solo betrays them. Han Solo proves himself to be a real scoundrel. He's a bad guy, exactly. Because he is upset that Greedo loves Leia. And so he was cheated out of Leia. And so Han calls them in, and they all get captured. And they're imprisoned in the prison they were trying to break everybody out of.
Yep.
And then we're in the Jedi Temple, and we learn that Jedi Bob has lied. Dev gets there. He tells Sig that Jedi Bob's been lying to him, and that's true. So Jedi Bob tells us that you can't remake the galaxy. He's already tried. That if you take the cornerstone out, the galaxy's remade, and you can't get your old one back. And then we get a really funny flashback of Jedi Bob in his old galaxy, where he's a Jedi, and he caused his other galaxy to collapse. And they're all yellow like the old Lego sets. They're all old Lego set
detail.
people. It was, exactly. It's a great attention to detail.
And this is one of those blink and you miss it things. You got to know about Legos and how they were made back in the day.
Yes, exactly.
And I was sitting there thinking that I watched this by myself. There were people going in and out. Didn't have anybody. I'm sitting there like, oh yeah, nobody's here to tell it to. But still, because that's the way Legos were. Even all the Star Wars Legos back in the day. The first ones you bought were yellow, and what a deal. And so, this where it kind of clicks in, because Dev even said, or not Dev, Sig even says, it's like, so my whole galaxy was a lie. Was it?
Right.
Well,
certain point of view.
Isn't canon,
Right, of course. Yeah, this isn't canon, but from this Lego perspective, it's like that, because this is from this story's perspective, the galaxy they're in is now the galaxy.
Yeah.
Like that's where they're going to take it from here on out.
Yep.
So we then see Dev, slam Jedi Bob against the wall. He's about to kill Sig, and then Servo makes this noble sacrifice, jumps in front of him, and so Dev kills Servo, and then Sig decides to go with Dev. He gives him the cornerstone and goes with him, so he won't kill Jedi Bob. And so it's kind of a cliffhanger. Again, this is really hitting all the normal beats you would have expected from the regular Star Wars storytelling.
Yep.
Like you have him leaving the planet and everything else, and here's the Empire Strikes Back note. Empire Strikes Back.
Going with Dev, it's almost like a what if in itself. Is like, what if Luke Skywalker had gone with Darth Vader or something like that? And they don't get very far along that story, but it's a fun little thought.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
Thing.
It absolutely is. And they do it. They make the fourth episode, like the intro, very ominous. Like they try to recognize and make that same cycle that they made out of the Star Wars movies by making you feel how ominous it is that that Sig went with Dev. So it opens with the next episode with the way that they're going to break out of the jail, out of the prison, and Yoda begins to play dead. And then after that, he just goes into Yoda mode where he's jumping around, hitting all of these clone troopers, and one of them yells, "Get it off of me!" And I just laughed so hard at that joke, too. That one was so good. So we see now that Dev has taken Sig on as his apprentice. All the other Sith betray him. All the other Sith try to betray him because they don't want Sig to outshine them. And we get this big climactic battle at the end between all the Sith and Dev. We've seen that Dev helped Sig remake Vanessa as it was, but Sig can tell this isn't right. This isn't the real thing. And so they're at odds. And so there's a big fight that ensues with them. And then the Jedi show up to the fight along with the rebellion. And you have the Sandcrawler Walker in space.
I love a ship arrival scene, even in this one. It's so fun.
It is. It was super good. There's this cool space battle. We get all of these cool ships zooming around, all these cool Legos zooming around that are like unique sets. The Sandcrawler with a Walker in space.
Dev's ship is a unique thing.
Dev's ship is unique. And then one of the things that I noticed in this scene when the Ewoks come on is they did, and I noticed this throughout, but this really is where it cemented for me, is the other thing they did is they took a lot of Star Wars songs and mixed them together and remixed them. And it was most on display here when the Ewoks come in to save the day, and it's like a sped up techno version of that plodding Ewok sound on Endor where it's dun 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 dun. Yeah, they sped that up and made it like aggressive, and it was really cool.
Awesome. Yeah.
And they did that with a bunch of different music remixes here, and I really liked that. So this whole show ended up having a deeper plot than I imagined. I said that at the beginning because the climax between Dev and Sig is that Dev wants to break the galaxy, and Sig can see that. And the line that you're like, oh, this is deeper than I thought. Dev says, "Of course I want to break the galaxy. It broke me first." And you learn that this guy's just been so sad his whole life. He hasn't had a little brother like he always wanted. It's just like it's a goofy Lego logic, but it's a more serious plot than I thought was ever going to be on this show.
Yeah, for sure.
You get the familial aspect out of Star Wars that you normally do, and then the good guys win. The good guys are able to install the piece into the temple on Dagobah. They're able to hide it. They're able to get away. They stop the Separator, which is the big super weapon in this, from destroying the rebellion and destroying all of their ships. It was a lot of fun. Also, the ship, the Splitter, the Separator, is shaped identical to a Lego Splitter. And I thought that was so funny because I saw that ship design. They lingered on it a couple times. I'm like, what is that? Like, why is that? I don't understand what that mashup is. And then it finally clicked for me that it's the Lego Splitter itself. It was a good, exactly. There's so many jokes that are meta to Star Wars, but also meta to Lego, like the yellow skin flashback and everything else. Yep. It's been very, very interesting. It was really good. And so, like we said, it leaves off on a cliffhanger. The galaxy's just kind of open after that. Like, we don't know what's going to happen. Sig and Jedi Bob and everybody else are still on this galaxy. You know, Luke and Leia are heroes. They know about their father, Jedi Vader. There'd be a lot of cool stories just between those three told now.
For sure.
And then it ends on a cliffhanger with the Lando-Lorian.
Yeah. And so you've been waiting for Lando the whole time to show up watching this. And here he is, the Landalorian.
Yeah.
Mercenary, bounty hunter.
Yeah,
Lando.
and then they get like a shot of Grogu, and he's like evil looking. He's got like sharp teeth. He looks menacing. Yeah, it was neat. It was super fun. But this was like... it was, I mean, the Lego stuff's always good. The Lego stuff's always funny, but this was unexpectedly good. I mean, I really enjoyed this, and it was a fun, again, hour and a half to spend just watching and laughing.
Yeah, I mean, and truly to do it justice, you have to watch it at least 2 times to get all the Easter eggs, all the jokes. And even then, you told me a bunch of the separator thing, but like, you need to go back, if you haven't noticed it, the yellow Legos, right? That one scene. But I'm sure there's stuff that we haven't even noticed.
Oh, yeah, certainly. Just happening in the background. There's so much going on.
And there's opportunity. You know, Yoda was gone at this point, so bring Kylo back. Don't even know what they could do with that. He could be good. And you're not going to... But, yeah, the quality of this just blew my socks off. It really did.
Yeah, I was very impressed.
The jokes were hilarious. They all landed really well. You know, if you weren't a Star Wars fan watching this, you might be lost a little bit. I guess.
Oh yeah, I think you would be. I think if you don't have the already known Star Wars story, you're going to be completely lost.
But like if you don't know who Admiral Akbar is,
you're fine.
You'll be fine. But that joke's just going to be totally lost.
Exactly.
You know, everybody's going to know who Lando is, but like Cad Bane's in the background. You know, that might be lost on some people. But you know, we got so much joy out of that, and he didn't have a single line.
Yeah, exactly.
And the whole thing is like that throughout. And I think one of the best things about this is the characters they made. You know, there's been a lot of different Star Wars made that, you know, like a lot of people don't like Rose Tico's character. Of the new characters created in this, they were all fantastic.
Right.
Dev, Yessi, Servo.
I mean, Jedi Bob,
Sig,
essentially.
Jedi
He's
Bob.
basically new. He's not a character. He was just a little...
He had no lines, all this stuff. So, I mean, they're batting 1,000 with this thing. It's so crazy how good it is.
Yeah, it is. It blew me away. I was very impressed. I was super happy to get to review this after it was over. I was like, this is going to be a fun episode to get to talk about this.
Don't write this off as some kid's thing.
No, certainly not.
You know, if you want to laugh, you know, load this up. Have a great time.
Yeah, it's family friendly, but it's not like some kids thing. I mean, you're going to enjoy some jokes in it for sure.
Yeah,
because there's a lot to laugh at.
And like you said, quintessential Star Wars. It's got everything: chase scene, space battle, hero's journey, redemption arc,
familial connection. Like it's over and over hitting all of the Star Wars notes.
And you know, it doesn't have. It's not some repeated tropes that you're sick of. They're able to do it in a way that delivers. You know, the whole what's the rhymes, you know.
Right. It does. And, you know, you have that chase scene, and it's like that we've had so many chase scenes in Star Wars. How are they going to make this interesting? And the Lego aspect comes in and makes it super fun and exciting.
It delivers so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So we had a great time reviewing this. Can't wait for season 2 or whatever they're going to call it when we get the Landalorian. Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
they got so many characters from that aspect. You all the Mandalorians.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's so much. All of the Ahsoka stuff, any character that's been in that, any character that's been in Rebels. I mean, there was none of them in this, and that's fine, but they've got
Rogue
a
One.
ton of people to bring in.
Yep.
A ton of people. It's not like most of the Jedi from the prequels are in this, or
Right.
Tarkin's not in this.
Yep.
They mention Grand Admiral Thrawn by name. He's
Yep,
not in
yep.
this. Like, there's a lot of room for more here.
I think once they get Ahsoka season 2 going, and maybe the Mando and Grogu movie, they'll have a lot of stuff to work with on the season 2 for this.
Yeah, I think so. I certainly think so. So we're looking forward to that, but we're looking forward to this How the Force Works question, because this one is a Lego-related How the Force Works question. So we're going to head on over to that segment right now.
That's not how the Force works.
All right, Colin, so this is our Patreon-powered segment. If you're a Patreon subscriber at any tier level, you can submit a question to be answered here live on the show. This question can be about anything. It can be about Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Lucasfilm, our own personal opinions. It can be a lore question. Really, the topic is very broad. And so we love answering these fan questions, and this fan question comes from our Patreon subscriber, Devin, and he asks, what is your holy grail Star Wars Lego set?
So, I just say it simply, the Death Star 2, and it's mainly because I've seen this one for sale and didn't buy it.
Is this one of the UCS sets, or is this the playset
No,
one?
it just came out in 2005.
Okay, so it's the playset one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I checked just to be accurate. It was $250 back then. I can't believe something was that cheap. Like if it came out today, it'd be $400 or $500 set.
Oh, easy.
Yeah, but they sell. Last I checked, it was $2,500 on eBay or something like that. It's going for $3,500 now.
New in box, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's staggering. That is astounding.
And they have the old Death Star sets, and gosh, I'm not going to mention any because I want you to say what you have to say, but there's so many sets that are so cool and worth so much money that cost so little back then that I wish I'd have bought stacks of these things.
Yeah.
There are a couple that did, and it's like, even back then, like what I'm looking at came out in 2011. So for me, it doesn't feel like that was a long time ago, but actually it was.
Right.
But I'm like, man, I should take a paycheck every other week and spend and buy a stack of these things, and it would have paid off by 250%.
Yeah. It's
So
like
I'm
buying
sorry I
gold.
didn't.
It's like buying gold.
Yeah.
So
I do that now, and it frustrates my kids to death.
yeah, I bet it does. Well, you did that with the Rebuild the Galaxy set, right?
Yes.
Yes,
It's
and that
still-
one's going to be worth so much. With Lightside Vader alone,
Dude,
that set's going to be
I've read more than
astronomically
one
expensive.
story of people getting their box in the mail and missing the minifigs.
Oh,
Yep.
wow. But you haven't opened yours. You don't know if it's missing the minifigs.
It came in an exterior box, and I have thoroughly inspected the interior box. It is fully intact.
Cool. Okay. That's good. So my Holy Grail Lego Star Wars set came out in 2003. I was 5 in 2003, and I was a Star Wars fan in 2003. And I collected Star Wars Legos in 2003. And so I asked my parents for this Lego set for many occasions, and it was on at least 2 Christmas lists. I know, because I remember seeing these commercials and being obsessed with this Lego set. And my parents did not buy it for me. And I don't think a year goes by where I don't remind them that they didn't buy me this Lego
If it's the one
set.
I'm thinking of, yeah, please continue. But yeah,
It retailed for $99.99 in 2003.
Yeah.
And it was a set from my favorite Star Wars movie, The Empire Strikes Back. The set itself is set 10,123 Lego Star Wars Cloud City. This Lego set now sells for an average of $7,500, and its peak was $11,000.
This is so insane.
The minifigs alone go for thousands of dollars out of this set, and I would have played with it. I mean, I was a kid. There was no way I wasn't going to play with it. Doesn't matter. I mean, my Legos are all still intact. They're in a box right behind you.
Yeah.
And so I know I would still have that set to make bukus of money off of if I would have gotten it. So that's my Holy Grail Lego set that I will literally never attain. I can't ever imagine owning that set.
Barring a lottery win.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I pulled out that list that I kind of figured you were going to be in somewhere in that direction. I had no idea that set existed. But don't I wish I could go back and tell myself, you need to buy stacks of these.
Yeah.
Stacks.
Just tons.
So the thing is, like, and the one I was mentioning was, let me see here, 10221 Superstar Destroyer. I was sitting there on my computer scrolling around. That one was announced. It was $400 when it came out. I'm like, man, I can buy one this paycheck. I can buy one the next paycheck. I get about 4 of these things, dude. You could buy a used car for selling those.
Yes,
things.
yeah, absolutely. If you had spent $1,000 on this Cloud City set in 2003, you would have 70 grand right now.
You'd be on the cover of Forbes magazine.
Yes. Again.
Wait, so the thing is, what the trap is, look at the Star Wars sets that they're coming out today. Is there anyone that you could put your finger on? None of them are going to be worth $7,500.
No, none will ever get to this level.
You can look at these UCS sets they're coming out with, like the UCS Millennium Falcon, and that's a great set. It costs like $600-700, and it'll probably be worth $2,500.
Right.
But not for another. Are you willing to put up your $600 today for to make another $1,000, $2,000 in 10 years?
Exactly.
It's so tough.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and it's an investment,
investing.
but there's other ways to invest and make that amount of money.
Okay, but yeah, you go up to your buddy who's an investor and be like, man, I'm going to spend $10,000 on Legos because they're an investment. You're going to laugh.
Right, exactly. Well, because they can often make that $10,000 make money a lot faster than these Legos can.
The stuff is just so rare. Like you'd be telling a different tune if you had that Cloud City set.
Yeah, absolutely.
But nobody has that.
No, they don't. It's the nature of collectibles, but especially the nature of collectibles in the age of the internet, where I've got 2 comic books behind me, sealed UCS, or not UCS, whoever does the comic book grading, CDC, sealed CDC comic books. One has 3 signatures on it, Stan Lee, Dan Slott, and Humberto Ramos, and it's the Spider-Man 700. And then the other one is the first appearance of the Vision, like Avengers number 57, I think, or 62, one of those low number Avengers issues from the 60s. Way lower grade, only has Stan Lee's signature on it. But because no one thought about collecting in the 1960s, that Vision comic is worth 10 times what that Spider-Man comic book is worth, because now someone walks into a comic book store, or you get some guy at the flea market who the only thing they know about comic books is, comic books sell for a lot of money. They can be really valuable if they're old. And they look at one printed in 1985 and think they just struck gold. And then they don't realize that people are aware of collecting now. You can't go out and find Holy Grail things anymore. You can. It happens to people, but not near as often as it used to. You can't go find the Lego Cloud City set in someone's garage somewhere, because if they found it in their garage, they're going to plug that into Google and understand that they just found a gold bar in their garage.
Yeah. One Star Wars related story to that is we found somebody didn't pay their bill on their storage unit, and they had a mountain of Star Wars Phantom Menace figures. Mm-hmm. They're worthless.
They are
$2.
Yeah, they are.
And people think, oh man, these are so old. These are so cool. The inverse of that is, I saw a story where somebody turned in a bulk estate sale, and then there was a Charleville musket from the 1700s.
Wow,
tens of thousands.
Yeah,
of
of course. That's
insane
amazing.
find.
Yeah, that is an insane find. Well, and that's the point, is those figures are referencing, I know the lines, the Power of the Force, they have the greenish background or the reddish Phantom Menace background, and those came out right around the special editions in the Phantom Menace, and people knew about collecting by then. People said, oh wow, there are others selling their Star Wars action figures from 1977 for hundreds of dollars, so these action figures that I keep in a box for 25 years are going to be worth so much. Well, everybody had that idea. Literally everybody. And so there is no way to make any money off of those. I have some of those Power of the Force figures. I'm not going to ever make any money off of those. They're out of the box. They're on a display shelf because they're not worth a dime. No. And they'll never will be.
Never will be.
And that's just, there was a lot of people that fell victim to that. It's like There's just so many examples of this. The Superman dying comic book. There's a lot where people think they struck gold and they didn't.
Of all the collectible stuff, the Lego is one of the lower hanging fruits of a good investment. But you can invest in lumber or gold or a lot of other stuff and make a lot of money faster.
Yeah.
That's the only
Exactly.
thing. So if you care, like I don't open any of my Legos. Makes my kids so mad. There's tangible a Lego set. It's a Luke and Leia doing the Death Star swing from A New Hope, and there's a $20 set worth $35. I'll take that ROI any day.
Right.
Especially since it was a gift to me.
There is the other thing though about Legos that if you have a little bit of experience, you can identify what sets are going to be worth something because you can oftentimes identify a set where this minifigue's never going to be made again.
Yeah,
like this character, like this TV show that got canceled. Well, that fig's never going to be made again. I'm going to pick this fig up, and now I've got it forever. They're not going to make another one.
If you got a Basil figure, chances are,
yeah, exactly, it'll be worth money someday. But you can see all of that kind of stuff and say this is where this set's trajectory is. Light side Darth Vader. There will never ever be a Lego set with light side Darth Vader in it again.
Yep.
And so it's an easy pickup.
And after this, if you have that Jedi Bob figure, guess what?
That's a really good question. I wonder how much Jedi Bob goes for right now. Because his set itself is like, obviously all these super old sets, 2002, are very nondescript. Jedi Bob looks like he's going for $250 on the Lego market right now.
And if I recall correctly, that rivals the Darth Revan minifig that came in the individual pack at Walmart or something.
Yes, yeah, it does. And they've released a few of those over time. But there's just a few of those gem Legos. In that box behind you, I've got the Mace Windu with the light up lightsaber when you click his head down.
Right.
And that one is also very valuable. Number one. Whoa, what? No way. There's no way that's right. I have this Lego. I have this minifig.
What do you got?
It says this can't be right. It says the Darth Vader with the light up lightsaber that I have is worth $2,800.
Oh my gosh.
I got okay. Well, I didn't. Now I shouldn't have looked this up live on the podcast because now all I want to do is get that minifig out. We'll look into this. I'll update the podcast next week.
Yeah, it'll be your Star Wars moment of the week.
Yeah,
week.
I'm gonna have to look into that. I have that minifig for sure, though. Okay, cool. So, anyways, really great how the Force works question. Good conversation about the value of Lego here because Lego and Star Wars are so intertwined. They have been since Lego picked them up in the 90s. They're like two brands that I really can't associate two other brands more with.
Right, you're exactly right.
So, great question. Again, if you want to ask us any more questions, all you have to do is head on over to our Patreon, patreon.com/Star Wars Station, and join at the $1 tier and start submitting a question over there. We'd love to answer it. But for now, we've got some news stories to talk about, so let's head on over to the HoloNet news.
You made the HoloNet.
All right, so our first news story today is pretty exciting. We just got done playing a Star Wars video game, and so now they're giving us some new Star Wars video game news for the next one, and that one is, to nobody's surprise, the upcoming Jedi final installment of the Jedi trilogy. Jedi Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor, and then this next game. And so that is going to be a huge step for us. That game is going to be so awesome. We loved the first two games, and to hear that Respawn is finally working on it is really, really exciting.
Yeah, and then it's a trilogy, right? So we're going to see how that story closes out. I would assume, and that's going to be so fun. Especially since a lot of Outlaws had a lot of similar mechanics to this one. I maybe want to play this one again.
Yeah,
I had so much fun with the bosses in this most recent one, Survivor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Man, they were fun. So getting to see how the story progresses on this, can't wait.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be really interesting. It'll be interesting to see how they ended up and what kind of big way they do it, because we don't know Cal's fate after Return of the Jedi. We don't know Cal's fate up to A New Hope yet, and so it'll be interesting to see if he bites it in the next game or not. Really, is kind of the big question. Are they going to kill Cal off, or are we going to have another guy who survived Order 66 on well past the Empire's reign?
I wonder if this is going to continue where it left off or skip ahead some amount of time. That'd be interesting to see.
That would be super interesting to see. So the next news story you've learned, I think you're going to be pretty excited about this. I think a lot of people are going to be pretty excited about this, is that apparently Keanu Reeves auditioned for Master Soul in The Acolyte, and he didn't get it because of his schedule. However, he is open, and Lucasfilm is open to doing a future project together.
Yeah, scrolling through this, I saw some YouTube clickbait videos, like 3 possible roles for Keanu, right? And man, so Keanu is one of my favorite actors. It goes back to even before The Matrix. I watched the other day a movie called Point Break. It was silly about surfer bank robbers, and he's an FBI agent trying to get in good with them to figure out who they are. But even a lot of his recent stuff is really, really good. There's a movie called Constantine. That's a comic book character from DC. That's really good. That's not recent, but... and then, of course, what he's most notable recent for is John Wick. And they're going to keep making those as long as they keep making money. But that's a gratuitous violence movie. And so... whereas I really enjoyed Keanu in that, it's so memeable and all this stuff, you kill my dog, stuff like that. I kind of hope they don't do that because Keanu, outside of the violence aspect, a lot of people, when they see him, is stoicism.
Right.
And that's Jedi through and through.
Yeah. And he's going to be really convincing with the monastic stuff.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that's a low-hanging fruit, but almost any role, an outlaw or a Mandalorian or even I don't necessarily see him as an Imperial. That would be kind of weird, but I'm sure he could pull that off. So I'm sure whatever they will stick him in is fine. My hope is that he's not some murder, some ultra-violence thing. That's a little bit more grounded.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I haven't seen a whole lot that Keanu's in, but I know he's a great actor, and so I'm ready to see him in Star Wars. And the top 3 roles that he could play, I guarantee you, number 1 listed on there was Darth Revan. Everybody wants Keanu to play Darth Revan.
Everybody wants him for that, for sure.
And look, if they could do the Old Republic stuff right, if they really went out there and hit it really hard, Keanu would probably be like the perfect person to play that. Yeah. But I hope they don't do it badly. I'm not even like a giant Old Republic fan. I don't know a whole lot about the Old Republic, but I want them to do it well.
Yeah, for sure.
So our final news story it's a little bit of Skeleton Crew news. It's not like a giant news, but it's pretty interesting. Is that Skeleton Crew, as we know, the villains are pirates. There's going to be a lot of pirate villains, but we got our first look at a lot of them, and we get our first look specifically at another actor from the 90s, Jaleel White.
Yeah, do you know who he is?
Yeah, he was Urkel.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Family Matters reran on Nick at Night when I was a kid enough that I totally got to see that.
So old.
Oh yeah, it was
totally
Family Matters,
Full
House, and George Lopez were the 3 reruns.
I watched Get Smart, Dick Van Dyke, and Bewitched on Nick at Night.
I don't know any of those shows.
Oh, I'm so old. But yeah, Nick at Night. Gosh. So Family Matters. I'm glad you watched that. I'm glad you know who that is. And I really like Jaleel White as an actor. Not just for that Urkel character towards the end of that show. He had some sort of alternate character.
Yes, yeah. It got crazy. Family Matters went off the rails.
It's the rails.
3-4 seasons of like normal family like programming, and then all of a sudden it's time travel and alternate dimensions and crazy. Family Matters just jumped the shark big time.
But Jaleel White did a good job, and I'm sure he's been in some stuff, I'm sure, but nothing that we've been like, oh yeah, I want to go see this. We're not sitting at home on Friday waiting to watch the craziness that Urkel does.
Right.
And so hopefully, obviously not, he's not going to be some goofy pirate in this. Maybe he will, since it's a kid's show, but maybe it could be something scary too, since this is supposed to be like a Stranger Things. But in this article is a picture of Jude Law, and he's got on his hip a flintlock style blaster.
Yeah,
it looks
really super cool.
So if this is some sort of Stranger Things meets Pirates of the Caribbean, I'll be happy with that.
Yeah. The other thing you notice from one of these, the pirate photo specifically, is that we have a Shistavanen pirate, the werewolf character who's in the bar in A New Hope, and there's that
That
character
scary.
is like not in very many stuff at all. Like
Yeah.
that's an alien because it's just a werewolf. Like it's just the costume in A New Hope is a werewolf costume, and so it's hard for people to translate that one into Star Wars. Super happy that they did that.
Yeah, very
this,
cool.
This guy looks really good.
He does.
So that's going to be super cool. That's going to be really, really neat. And they've all got the flintlock blasters, too. At least he does across his chest. He's got 2 of them and then a regular blaster.
Yeah.
So it's going to be fun. This is going to be a fun show. Every image, leak, whatever that comes out about the show, I get more and more excited about
Me
it.
too.
So that wraps up our HoloNet news segment. We got one more segment to go. We're going to hop on over to our Star Wars moment of the week.
We would be honored if you would join us.
All right, last segment, Colin. What is your Star Wars moment of the week?
So mine's a really, really, really relatively big one, kind of expensive too. I'm moving and to a much bigger house. Hard work and some other stuff pays off. So that means how it relates to Star Wars, I'm going to move all my Star Wars Lego sets to their own Lego room.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that. It's going to be a big step up and a big step for my family. And, it's got a whole man cave, so I can set everything up like I've always dreamed.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be cool. It's going to be really cool getting to set all that stuff up. You're going to be able to make a really good display right there.
Yep.
So, my Star Wars moment of the week is, it's kind of small, but it's kind of funny. I spent like 2 hours the other day messing around with my harmonica, which I don't know how to play. I only know how to play it with tabs. So I'm like a really crappy guitar player where I can read music based on the numbers. But I did learn Mos Eisley's Cantina on the harmonica the other
that's
day.
awesome.
And so I sat here and learned it. It's probably already gone, but if I looked at the sheet music again, I could probably figure it out.
Hey, that's a great idea.
Yeah, it was funny. It was fun. I was just bored and I was like, I'm going to do this. And so I had a good time. But that was fun.
The only thing I could think of to do with the harmonica is zip tied on the other side of somebody's car where the wind goes across it. It makes a sound. So they're all, why is my car making a sound all of a sudden?
Yeah, that's funny. That is, I should do that. This is not like a high dollar harmonica. It's worth doing that with, probably.
Don't go anywhere near my car after this.
So that wraps up our podcast for the day. It was a lot of fun talking Rebuild the Galaxy. The Lego Star Wars stuff is always a treat, and so it was a really, really good time talking that. We are still kind of in the build-up to the Skeleton Crew. It's a little ways out. It's 2 months out still, but we are really excited about it, so that's going to be coming up on our channel where we're going to continue to be talking about Skeleton Crew, giving you all that we know. There'll certainly be another trailer drop between now and then, and we'll be able to talk about that.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of meat.
Yeah.
We're going to have a whole trailer episode and news stories, this and that.
Yeah, so we're super excited about that. We got a lot of great Star Wars content for the rest of the year for you guys, headed into next year. If you're on our Patreon, we got a lot of great Patreon content coming, more RPG episodes, more ARC Troopers episodes, all kinds of stuff like that. And you can check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/Star Wars Station. You can find our RPG episodes. You can find stickers, T-shirts, all kinds of stuff over there. And so definitely check us out over there. You can find us on Instagram at StarWars.Station. You can find us on Twitter at SW_Station. You can find us on YouTube at Star Wars Station. You may be watching this on YouTube. If you are, give us a like. Give us a subscribe. We really, really appreciate that.
Yeah. And did you mention Discord already? Man, lots of stuff going on over there. Between Star Wars, Warhammer, Godzilla.
Yeah.
You can find a link to that in our link tree. What else? Streaming. I hope you got to watch Carter stream Outlaws. I really didn't have time to do it. We've also been streaming Space Marine game, Space Marine 2. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of fun. That's on twitch.tv/Station Media.
Yep. You can find us on our podcast website, StarWarsStationPodcast.com. Find our backlog of episodes, all kinds of stuff like that over there. And you can find us on everywhere. You can find us on Facebook.
Everywhere.
I was trying to remember
Facebook.
exactly what I was trying to say. You can find us on Facebook.
It gets
We got
lost.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We've got a Facebook group over there, Star Wars Station Cantina. And if you're listening to us, you probably found us on, well, either YouTube or Spotify and Apple. And we could totally use 5-star reviews over there. Really helps us out over there. If you leave us a like, leave us a review, leave us a comment, all of it helps. All of it motivates us to keep doing more Star Wars stuff. And we do it for you guys. We love engaging with our fans. We love engaging with our listeners. And we hope to continue to do that. So we hope that you continue to listen. We hope that you continue to enjoy. And we hope that you continue to stay wizard.